On this channel we talk a lot about the early church fathers. I'm an Orthodox Christian, and about 30 seconds on Google will tell you that we call our priests father. So today I wanted to do a quick episode about the verse in scripture in which Jesus says, "Call no man father." Now this is a very easy verse to find in your Bible, and you might also come across it in online discussions where people might use this verse as a reason not to call priests father. But you will seldom hear this verse being used for that reason by serious biblical scholars of any background. So this video isn't going to be me convincing you that using the word father for priests is good and correct. We can agree or disagree on that, that's fine. But I do want to, in this video, show you that if you don't like using the word father, this isn't a verse to use to back that opinion up. For those of us that do use the word father regularly, this video will explain a little bit about why we do that and what that means. The first thing to note is that this verse has always been there. It's not like it was in the Bible and we somehow missed it for hundreds of years. We were calling priests father and somebody suddenly went, wait a second guys, we missed it. It was after the Reformation that this verse started being used against calling priests father. And it happened in the other way around. Perhaps we can't blame them. They'd seen some very bad behavior from the clergy. They had not experienced a very good image of them, and so they rejected the priesthood and the associated elements, like the title father, and then later the verse started retroactively being used for it. We didn't miss this verse, we always knew it was there. And remember that the books of the Bible were chosen by people who used the word father regularly. So if we take the verse literally, we can't call anyone father. That rules out the word father, it rules out the word dad. That's really strange for family relationships. And then we have to apply the same logic to the word teacher, and that's teacher, doctor, sensei, professor. And then it would appear that Jesus contradicts himself, which of course he can't, because he actually refers to fathers and mothers several chapters earlier. And then the answer would be, well, Stefan, he clearly didn't mean it in a literal sense, he meant it in a sense of spiritual authority. And there we have a first big problem. How do you know how he meant it? Because what you're saying there straight away is that this verse is against calling priests father only if I read it in a certain way. And it doesn't work as an explanation anyway, because Jesus would contradict himself again. Because when Nicodemus comes to visit Jesus, Jesus refers to him as a teacher, and that is a purely spiritual authority title that he's giving a Pharisee. It would then also appear that Paul doesn't get the memo because he refers to himself as a father and refers to his spiritual children. Not to mention, of course, that the word father is used for non-literal fathers all through the Old Testament. And there's heaps. There's like Joseph refers to himself as Pharaoh's father. Then of course we wouldn't be able to use it for America's founding fathers, for the father of computing or the father of the automobile. All of those kind of titles would just disappear. I didn't even mention all of the church fathers that use the term father. Any church father, you'll open it up and it'll have them referencing their father or your father or father such and such. So the term father is just everywhere in the early church. There is no point in which we just randomly started using it. We didn't start using it at Paul, we started using it in the Old Testament, we just continued. It's one of those things that goes back centuries before Christ. We've just continued using the word father for people in authority and spiritual respect. What's actually going on here? Well, if you read the entire chapter in context, he's talking about the Pharisees and the scribes, the teachers and the fathers of the people to whom he's speaking. And he makes a lot of statements about hypocrisy and about the bad behavior of these fathers and teachers. Jesus is talking about the ultimate expression and the ultimate use of these titles, that the final owner of the titles teacher, master, father is God alone, and that the people that are being given this title of teacher, father and master, their jobs are actually to point us towards the teacher, the father, the master, God himself. We have to be careful not to idolize these people, not to so become amazed at what might be genuinely great wisdom that we replace God, even subconsciously, with the figures that are supposed to point us to him. Using these titles for humans does not in any way, because it simply cannot, take away from the glory that God has in having these titles. Perhaps a surprising defender of the use of the title father actually is the Protestant reformer John Calvin. And he wrote that while Paul claims for himself the title of father, he does it in such a manner as not to take away the smallest portion of the honor which is due God. God alone is Father of all in faith. But they whom he is pleased to employ as his ministers for that purpose are likewise allowed to share with him in his honor, while he parts with nothing that belongs to himself. So for those people who have these titles, It is their job to make sure that they don't give in to any sin of pride, any feeling like they are somehow extra special because they've been given these titles. If anything, they have a greater responsibility to point people to the owner of those titles that they are honored to hold. As for the rest of us, we have the job of not forgetting that, the teachers and fathers that have been placed in our lives, they are here to guide us to Him. We cannot build up idols out of them, and we have to remember that Christ is our final teacher, that God is our final Father. And while we're at this point, there are other titles and words that do this. The word pastor means shepherd. There is only one good shepherd. The word reverend means to be revered. Who can be revered above God? The word friend. What closer friend do we have than God? The word brother, what closer brother do we have than Christ? The final expression of many beautiful titles that we give to our fellow human beings belong to God. And we need to remember that when we use those titles to people, we are seeing Christ in them. Thank you. That's it for today's episode. As for today's tea, it's actually really exciting. This is Punjabi cha, or you might know it as masala chai. My sister-in-law is from a Punjabi Indian background, and she makes this, and it's incredible. She's behind the camera with her husband, which is my little brother. He set this whole thing up. And it's delicious. We'll put the recipe in the description below if you want to try it for yourself. It's amazing, warming, and I love it. Cheers. Till next time. All right, hang on. Okay, if you heard that slurp, the reason that's in this episode is because my old friend Ban, I've known him for over 10 years, has been complaining in the comments that I don't drink the tea on the show. And the reason I'm not drinking the tea on the show is because there's a slurp sound in the microphone, so I have to edit it out. But that's at least one in there for you, Ban. All right? Don't ever say I don't give you gifts. That's two.